Dr. Homebrew is brought to you by 5 Star Chemicals, providing safety and cleaning supplies for brewing, distilling, and winemaking at 5starchemicals.com.
Doctor, look!
Stand aside, nurse. I'm Dr. Homebrew.
Stand clear.
Right? I don't even know. Are we live? We're live. It's Dr. Homebrew, everybody.
Hello.
No. Hi. Yes.
Oh, wait. We're not supposed to say hello yet.
Hi. Hello.
Stay mute. We don't say anything.
Man, I'm trying to strain my voice with this whole post-surgery healing. It's very weird.
Nice shave, by the way.
Feels very weird. I'm like taking clippers. I did try to shave once with a razor, but I don't have feeling on the left side, like under my chin and my neck where they cut into me. So I don't know how much pressure I'm really applying. It's like shaving someone else. It's very, very weird.
I think go have a barber do it. They know.
Can they do? I don't think they can actually shave. Can they? Can you still go to like get a hot shave?
I've never done it.
Yeah, I don't think you can. I asked one person.
Just have your gun on the ready.
You have to find the one with the pole with the red and blue.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Some crusty old dude.
Yeah, I'll do it for you.
You need a crew cut with that.
Yes, I do. I need a crew cut. Reverse crew cut. Yeah, it's very weird. So then I just basically trim my beard hair down with clippers now. Just go, which is in itself weird because, again, I can't feel... I don't know. It's very.
At least you're not going to hurt yourself with those. I mean, you just look kind of, dated. Miami Vice. It's kind of 19 something or other.
I'm a cop.
Right.
I'm an undercover cop.
No one's going to make that mistake.
No. Why not?
Why?
I'm the Batman.
Gotta ask.
I don't know. It's real weird. But anyway, welcome back to Dr. Homebrew. We are the show that tells you what's wrong with your beer. Really, I mean, let's be honest. But also what's right with your beer. We are an interactive BJCP score sheet, along with my two hosts, Brian and Lee.
I'm Brian.
I'm Lee.
And they are BJCP master-ranked judges. That's right, master-ranked. There's none higher. Some might say grandmaster, and then there's ranks above that. But really, once you're master, it's like, it's it. It's it. You don't need to do anything else. You are the end-all, be-all for judges. Right? I'm right. I mean, I'm right. I mean,
you got your 90. You
got your 90. You can ride your laurels for the rest of your life.
Yeah. I mean, all these people want to be grandmaster. Like, that's too much. There's such a thing as too much,
well,
right?
There's a difference. I mean, to be grandmaster, you actually have to do some work. You have to,
see?
grade score sheets and do stuff like that.
Grade exams.
Service to the organization. That's what that's all about.
No one wants to do that.
That's the hard stuff.
Right.
Right.
Being on Dr. Homebrew is the easy stuff.
Yeah.
Because generally the beers are going to be better, right?
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And no one wants to grade tests and not get tenure for it, or I don't know. Get the desirable.
Grading exams is a challenging thing, especially. Yeah. Anyway, we could go into a long conversation about that.
We're not here to do that at all.
I just graded one though where the proctors were like really far off from one another, and it made it really challenging to give the examinees a fair grade on this one beer. They were like 20-something points off, and the comments were so varied, and it's like, well, you have to kind of go with what the description of the beer is and kind of do your best to do it justice. But
you just flipped a coin.
Flip a coin. It was good. No, it was crappy.
Well, before we go any further in the show, I do want to thank our sponsor, 5 Star. You can go to 5starchemicals.com. 5starchemicals.com. There you can learn all about how to properly clean your home brewing equipment, and also, of course, the best cleaning supplies in the world to do it, which are PBW, 5 Star San, Sani Clean is another one. I think IO Stars. They have a lot of them. So check them out, 5starchemicals.com. Go to your local homebrew shop, and if you don't see at least PBW and Star San, at least. That's like, not seeing hot bags or not having a place to mill your own grain. These are the things that should probably key you in that homebrew shop doesn't know what they're doing.
It's like going to a 7-Eleven and not seeing Gatorade.
Yes, it's exactly like that. That's the weirdest analogy I've ever heard, but I'm going to use it.
Does that make a good cleaner?
7.
Yeah, I think
11.
Probably like Coke. It's probably pretty low pH.
Gatorade. But anyway, check them out, 5starchemicals.com. They're over on Facebook as well. So if you're over there, pop by their page, like them. They do some contests every now and then. And thank them for sponsoring this show, because without them, we definitely wouldn't be here. So thank you very much. And, of course, we also wouldn't be here without our two homebrewers, our two homebrew guests. Today we have Pete and Scott. Pete has sent in a Belgian Dark Strong Ale, and we're going to speak with Peter right after the break. And then after that, we're going to speak with Scott. He has an English Mild Brown Ale. And he's in studio, and I really like in studio guests because we can just keep them waiting and waiting and waiting.
They suffer.
Yeah, they're not at home. They can't do anything that they want to do, and they have to use a public restroom. So these are just it's what you have to do in order to get by.
Cleans himself personally twice a year.
Yes, I will ensure that that toilet is the cleanest that it's been. Never.
The last time was what, September?
I think it was June, really.
Okay.
I mean, unless you count spraying it down with water. I don't use 5-star chemicals on it.
Right.
I
Just
don't know. Whatever.
Whip up a bucket of percarb and hose down the room with it.
All right, everybody, we're going to take a break, and then when we come back, we'll be on the phone with Peter, and we're going to talk about his Belgian Dark Strong and taste that. And it's in our glasses already. It looks great. So I'm going to have a beer, and I suggest you should, too. See you at the end of the jump. Hang on a second.
Do you know the three most important rules in brewing? Sanitation, sanitation, and sanitation. And no one does it better than 5-Star Chemicals. 5-Star knows sanitation. You can only sanitize clean equipment. And 5-Star knows how to clean, too. For craft brewers and home brewers, 5-Star has what you need to keep your fermenters, serving tanks, kegs, and draft lines sparkling and free of any beer-spoiling bacteria. PBW, caustic, acid cleaners, Star San, SaniClean, lubricants and defoamers, pH stabilizers, and more. 5-Star Chemicals has cleaning supplies, safety supplies, heat exchangers, pumps, hoses, and valves. And 5-Star is proud to offer eco-friendly products that exceed customer expectations. If you have a cleaning problem, you need the 5-Star solution. Visit 5starchemicals.com or call 800-782-7019. 800-782-7019 and get the 5-Star treatment today.
Hey, Wooly, I'm beat. Can we find a nice tree to just hang out in for a while?
You're beat. I've been swinging through this forest for 50 years, ever since we first escaped from the circus. I know, but there's got to be more to life than exploring this creek and trying to populate the valley by copulating with loose, hairy girls. Marquis, stop. Look!
What is that?
It looks like a man-made treehouse.
With fresh food.
And craft beer.
Welcome to the Creek Monkey Tap House, boys. Grab a seat. Creek Monkeys drink free.
Awesome!
The Creek Monkey Tap House in Martinez, California takes their mission of fresh food and beer seriously. They only serve locally raised beef and chicken, as well as local sustainable produce. It's better for you and the planet, and it just tastes better. The beer and wine at Creek Monkey Tap House are chosen with the same care for the highest quality and rotate frequently to make each visit an adventure. Swing on into the Creek Monkey Tap House and enjoy a new legend of amazing food, beer, and wine. The Creek Monkey Tap House, online at creekmonkey.com.
Come along now. It's time for your medication.
Back to Dr. Homebrew.
All right, everybody, welcome back. It's Dr. Homebrew. Try to get Peter on the line, but it looks like we're having some Skype issues, of course. Why wouldn't we? Skype is just a lovely piece of software.
It's free.
But I think Peter's listening, so he'll try to call in. And in the meantime, we will get started on his beer. Lee, why don't you start us off, buddy?
All right. This is the Belgian Dark Strong Ale. So this beer I got for the aroma, grainy, toasty malt, strong spice phenol character and low alcohol notes. Red berries, cherries, some graham crackers, some notes of rum, no hops, no DMS, no diacetyl. It was all pretty to style, although the grainy malt character I thought was a little out of place, and the phenols were quite strong. The appearance was brilliant, red light brown color, poured a large off-white fine foam, that very noisily, very crackling sound to it, faded to a light color. It was all pretty to style. The head faded a little quickly, but that will happen in some of these because they have a high alcohol content often, and that'll just kill the head. The flavor was cola and some caramelly malts, medium-high esters, berries and red cherries again, medium-high phenol spiciness, like baking spices. I'm kind of interested to hear if you might have added something like that to this beer, because it tasted very like nutmeg and clove and things like that to me, more than the usual white pepper kind of phenols you get in these beers.
Mm-hmm.
And that was quite strong. I thought that was actually a little bit overbearing in the balance to me. No hop flavor, really. The hot IBUs just enough to support. It came out still a little bit sweet. Low alcohol flavor. Balance is definitely to the malt over the phenols and the alcohol.
I think we have Peter. Peter, are you on the phone?
Peter?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right.
Hey, man.
Sorry.
Made it.
Sorry about that. I don't know what's going on here, but it's good to have you
problem.
with us. Thanks for staying up, man. You're on the East Coast. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Staying up late. That's what he's doing.
This would have been a lot more boring if we just had to keep rambling on ourselves. Now we get someone cool to talk to.
I figure, when am I going to be on the show again? I might as well just stay up and do it, right?
Yeah. Right. Why not? Let's let Lee finish with his rundown, and then we'll jump into you and get your brewing history a little bit and background and thoughts on this beer, okay?
Cool.
All right, man.
All right, picking up where I left off. The finish was kind of sweet, some lingering rum and cherry and spices, having the spices again. It's pretty much within the style parameters, a bit on the sweeter side, but that's okay. Some of these are like that. I thought the phenols, again, were kind of a little bit too high for me. Body was medium, leave some stickiness behind. Carbonation seemed a little bit low, it was kind of medium low, kind of low for the style. Medium alcohol warmth. It wasn't astringent, a little bit drying, I thought, from the alcohol and the spices, or the phenols. Low creaminess. Overall, this beer to me was kind of a mix of good and bad. It was a complex presentation of flavors, which is very much in the spirit of this style. It possessed some nice character from the ferment and the esters, and maybe from some sugar additions. I was picking up a little bit of a rum flavor in here. But some of the flavors, especially the phenols, I thought were a little bit out of balance for the style. They seemed kind of strong, and also they seemed, as I said, much more of the dark baking spice flavors as opposed to the usual white pepper, which I guess could be fine, which gives a very phenol-forward flavor balance for, especially the flavor, somewhat for the aroma. And it's kind of drying on the palate. Otherwise, I thought it was a little bit sweet, but that's probably okay. But it was more sugary rather than malty rich. As some of the examples of this that at least I like better are. So if for me, the phenols are the main issue. So there's two ways to approach that. If it's just yeast phenols, pitch perhaps some more yeast or some healthier yeast. If it's some baking spices you added in there, I would reduce your additions on those. This will improve the balance, I think, and make for a more pleasing inner presentation that lets all the other nice flavors and aroma in there shine through. In the end, I gave this beer a 30. I thought it had some nice things about it, but had a couple things that needed to be fixed. And I guess before Brian, you're gonna...
let's get talking to Pete here. Pete, how long have you been homebrewing, man?
Let's see. My wife got me, extract kit about 8 years ago, and just did it off and on for a while, and then I got into all grain about 3 years ago.
Excellent. How was that transition for you? Did you build your equipment, or did you buy a system, or?
Well, I live in Brooklyn, so I don't have a whole lot of space for a real system. So it's a little bit hodgepodge. But I've got the Gatorade cooler. I've got a 10-gallon kettle that I can fit over 2 burners on the stove. Mm-hmm. And I've been kind of piecing it together, one new thing each year, basically building up. This year I got the big kegerator, so that's been a nice addition.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to do it. Add a big piece every year. You don't need to go right out of the gate with like a $10,000 setup.
I figure I should try to learn how to use each piece at least pretty well before I move on to something new.
Well, you picked a good one to learn the kegerator. I mean, that's pretty easy.
The kegerator is good.
Sweet.
So what do you want to get out of this beer here? Are you looking for any specific sort of feedback or just some general stuff?
Mostly general stuff. I feel like Belgian Dark Strong, you could go, a fairly broad, it's a fairly broad category. You can go different ways with it. And just looking for
sorry, Pete, we're dropping you here, man. I don't know what it is.
What was going on? It just went off
Pete, are you
the
there?
static, huh?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
There you go.
I think it's our internet connection. Lately, we've had a kind of a lower internet connection, and I think it just kind of wigged out for a second. So sorry about that.
Okay. That's cool. Should I go again?
Yeah, you can just pick up where you left off.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So, I guess just recipe suggestions. I know this was, I don't know if you saw the recipe, but it was pretty complicated. A lot of different malts and, kind of loosely based off of the Brewing Classic styles, and then kind of, tweaked it here and there. So just kind of wanted to get your thoughts.
Okay, perfect. Great. Brian.
Hey.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah, thanks. This beer is, it did have that. We poured it. It had this like kind of soda pop like sound with the bubbles popping. And the score sheet doesn't have any room for you to use all 5 senses really, but almost. I mean, I did note it on the sheet here, so we're using everything we can. It's It did have a pretty intense sound when you put it up to your ear. It's like soda pop. Fairly rich malt notes in the aroma. It came out a little cold, but it warmed up, and some of that richness with the raisininess in there came through. Some light toasts, a hint of pruniness in there, esters. I didn't. The phenolics to me in the aroma were pretty well in check. Just a low kind of peppery thing. I didn't really get a big clove-like or deep baking spice thing in there myself, but it did have a low alcohol note, but smooth as it should be in this beer, and no DMS or diacetyl, no hops. This beer doesn't really. It's not a hop monster by any stretch of the imagination. Seems pretty clean, and fairly light presentation overall for a Belgian Dark Strong in the aroma, but it was probably because it was a little cold. I get a little more as it warms up, but it might also be a carbonation thing. Sometimes if you carbonate a beer a little less, it will drive off fewer of the aromas that you're looking for. So anyway, kind of a coppery brown color in there with a fairly good clarity. Had a tan head that started medium and just dropped, just disintegrated like that. So like Lee said, but it was mostly finer bubbles in there, and it just had that thing where the head just, boom, dissipates. I knocked it down a point for that. Oh, well. Raisiny and kind of a treacle-like sweetness in the flavor with underlying fruity cherry-like esters, and, pretty pleasant alcohol, very, very firm alcohol in the flavor, and a bit less soft in the flavor than it was in the aroma, but the bitterness was low and in check as it should be. Seems cleanly fermented. It does leave a bit of sweetness in there behind in the finish, and that could be a perception I'm getting from the fruitiness in there. That does have a lot of esters, but it could also be some residual gravity. I'm not sure. Sometimes like the Trappist versions will have a little more sweetness on the end there, and that's fine for some of these. It has everything I was looking for in the beer, pretty much in the flavor, so that was cool. Kind of a full, medium full body, full/medium full. I could just say medium full or full, but no, I have to go in between.
Well, why wouldn't you? I mean,
define it to the
Why
T.
not split the hair?
Yeah.
The carbonation was only medium, and it seemed like it was a little light for the style, but
not medium light.
No, just straight up medium. And it did just kind of blow off there. I wonder if there's something in the beer, like it could be some oils or something in the BN glasses that are just making all the carbonation just drive straight out. It
might be. It might be. I think it just ran through the dishwasher, so there might be some residual.
I blame the BN glassware, but it did happen to all of ours, and so anyway. Sorry. It was slightly creamy and smooth, and there was no astringency to be found. Very obvious alcohol warmth in there. Not really too hot, though, in the mouthfeel. Just pleasant, but yeah, it was just a little lacking in the carbonation in there. So, but yeah, to me, it was a very pleasant Belgian Dark Strong. Had a lot going for it. Maybe, increasing the carbonation a little bit would help it. And it would drive off some more of those flavors that are already in there. I didn't get as many of the offensive phenols that Lee did, but I can detect them more in the flavor than in the aroma. So if you did carbonate it even more, that might push that out of balance a little bit too. So I don't know. If you clean those up and carbonate it a little bit more, nice beer. Maybe just a little bit sweet of an impression. If you could figure that out too. I don't know if it was
dry it out a little bit.
Well, it might not be drying it out. It might just be all the fruity esters that maybe it had slightly too high of a fermentation temp early on in fermentation or something that could be giving that impression of sweetness from all the esters in there. There's a lot of cherry-like and they're pleasant to me and raisiny and all this good stuff.
They are very pleasant. Absolutely.
I gave it a 37. I really liked this beer. So we had a little bit of a point spread on this, but it's allowed. We're okay. But nice beer, Pete. Thank you.
We're okay.
Pete, what did you? What was your fermentation temp?
That's probably the biggest thing I'm missing from my system. So I can cool it down with my wort chiller. I got it down to about 65 to start. Maybe it was maybe a little bit higher than that, like 67. But after that, it's pretty much just a free rise. So if that and it was going pretty strong. So I don't know what it got up to, but it was definitely cranking away for the first couple of days.
Yeah,
okay.
This is one that you can let free rise too, but you generally might want to start a little bit lower than that.
Okay.
And get it'll keep those esters and phenols in check a little better. But yeah, the flavors are all right. What kind of yeast did you use?
I used the Y yeast Belgian Ardennes.
Okay.
3522. I mean, I did a big starter, like 4.2 liters. I used oxygen in the starter for just a touch, and then I did about 2 40-second blasts in the actual brew itself before pitching. So you think the sweetness might have been from fermentation temperature? Because it fermented out to about 10-11.
And from where did it start?
It started at 1084.
Yeah. That's going to leave a little residual sweetness in there, but I think that's within the range that's acceptable for finishing. Some can go a little lower, but just depends on the interpretation you're using. So, and what the yeast does.
Well, and how you mashed it and how much sugar you added.
Right.
Too. What sort of a mash temperature do you use on this?
So I did 152.
Okay. And how much was some sort of caramalts or anything like that?
Yeah. There was a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what I have in there. There was some Cara Munich, a little bit over a pound of Cara Munich 3. There was some Special B, about 3/4 of a pound. Those are the caramel malts that were in there.
That explains the raisininess and the toastiness and the rich toast.
And how much sugar did you add?
So I waited till the primary fermentation. And
hang on a sec, Peter. Sorry about that.
There goes our internet connection again. Let JP work some magic here.
I'll let you know. Basically, I'm just turning it down and seeing if it goes
gerbils to spin that wheel a little faster, maybe back there.
So I waited till the primary ferment slowed down.
Okay.
And then I added a pound of the amber, the 90 Lavabond Belgian candy sugar.
Right. And this is a 10-gallon batch, right?
No, it was a 5-gallon batch.
5. Okay. Oh, that's a pretty good
dose.
It
was more like a 6-gallon batch.
It was the liquid sugar or rock
It was
stuff.
the liquid sugar.
The good stuff, yeah. Cool.
All right. Well, I mean, the caramely malts, I mean, it should add a little body to it. Shouldn't leave it too sweet, really. The sugar will actually dry it out. So if it's coming across a little bit sweet in the finish, the most likely usual source for that is the yeast might not quite have finished it all out. So it might be a slight ferment failure at the end. Usually, I mean, for a beer like this, I would leave it sit for a while after it appears done, and maybe another week or so at a fairly warm temperature. Maybe rouse it once in a while to get the yeast stirred up. Sometimes that'll drop at another point or two.
You can also do extended kind of sugar feedings, and save a little bit of your sugar aside and do the initial dose, and then just give it as it finishes out, give it a little more sugar to keep it happy for a little longer, and play with your yeasts like that. But I think you're in the range. I mean, you got it down from 1084 to 1011. You're in the range.
Yeah, and it's a big, rich beer. I mean, you could always drop your mash temperature a few points too to try and bring that side of it down. The richness and body isn't so much the problem. It's just sort of the sweet appearance of the finish. It's a little bit too sweet.
Yeah.
The richness is okay.
Too.
Yeah. So generally, that's what I would do is make sure your yeast is really finishing out.
Okay. And then as far as you were mentioning the phenols.
Yeah, they were kind of weird to me, and Brian, they weren't weird to Brian, so I mean, maybe it's a personal thing, but if you wanted to bring those under control, again, probably dropping your ferment temperature down a bit is the best thing to do for that. You'll bring your esters down some too. I think they're generally kind of in lockstep from my understanding of it, at least in terms of how they respond to ferment conditions. But that's probably the way I would do if I wanted to bring that down a little bit.
So besides the Cara Munich and the special B that you had in there, what other malts were in that?
There were a whole bunch. I mean, it was mostly Belgian Pilsner, 68%. There was some white wheat malt. There was Munich, aromatic, melanoidin, and a touch of pale chocolate.
Yeah. So just conceptually, sometimes you as a brewer, you're like, let's throw in a little bit of this and a little bit of that and take somebody's recipe and tweak it out and have some fun with it. Sometimes it's fun to, or conceptually it may be better to sometimes use a simpler recipe and put across a few elements rather than having too many different things fighting with each other. But because it's meant to be a complex beer, and I think it's plenty complex enough as it is, but you can figure out what flavors you like in there. Is the raisiny too much? Do you need to drop back the special B a little bit? I would say maybe try that. I like the Cara Munich element that's in there. I would keep that, but I mean maybe some of the other, decide which malts you want to keep and which ones maybe you don't need in there, and see what happens with it that way.
Yeah, cool. Cool, yeah, that was actually one of my questions. I knew it was kind of ridiculous to have nine different things going on in there. I knew that was a lot, so I figured I would ask you guys maybe what I should drop out of there.
Yeah, you're using authentic ingredients, and you found the Belgian Pilsner malt, and having the right base malt for a beer like this is vitally important. You can't brew it with just typical American pale malt. It's not going to taste at all like this. So it was obvious to us that you used good ingredients, and yeah, I think for Lee it was just a balance thing to him, but to me it was a pretty good beer. I really liked it.
Yeah, for me it's mostly the phenols. I like the complexity of this beer actually. If you wanted to get rid of some of those malts, I would pick which ones you like and keep them, and drop some of the ones which aren't needed. And that should get you to where you want. That's probably the best thing to do. I mean, there's a wide latitude in terms of the flavors and that you can have in one of these beers. So any of those malts are probably fine. You might just not want to use all of them at once.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Sound good? And, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's great. I was just about to ask one last thing. And
I ruined it. I derailed your train.
You totally ruined it. No, what was I going to ask? I had one more question.
JP's going to put another notch in his microphone here.
That's right.
Oh, the carbonation. Yeah, so I usually, I got 4 kegs on my kegerator, which is pretty awesome. But it does mean that they're all at the same carbonation.
Consistent level, yeah.
Yeah, so I kind of knew that was going to be a flaw going in. But do you think if I cranked it up for this one, that would make a significant difference kind of scoring-wise?
Yeah, this beer definitely could use some more carbonation. These beers, I mean, they come in those big, heavy-duty cork bottles for a reason. I mean, they can be 3, 3.5. For the darks, they're probably not going to go higher than that. Some of the pale ones will go higher. Yeah, a lot of CO2. I mean, you may have to, pull the other kegs off and let them sit for a while and push this guy up to get it in the to the right level to bottle it properly like that.
Or just when
that's not hard to do.
When you're not pouring the beer, if you're not going to be drinking a lot of it, just pump up the CO2 on that particular keg and just leave the CO2 pulled off of it and just let it sit.
And be very careful pouring it.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
All right.
Excellent.
All right, Peter. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for staying up, too. Good luck in class.
Thank you much for sharing. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks very much, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, bud. Take it
Catch
easy.
some good Z's.
Thanks, man. All right, take care.
Good beer. I liked it.
Yeah.
And I can't thank Peter enough. I mean, he's like, I'm a teacher, and I live on the East Coast. And I'm like, dude, sorry. He's like, yeah, forget it. Let's do it.
He's going to be bleary-eyed for his class of 6th grade math students tomorrow.
Yeah.
We didn't ask which class he taught, but yeah.
So, living in Brooklyn or wherever you may be living, you may have more room for all grain equipment than you think. It doesn't, I started out brewing in an apartment, and about 6 months later I went all grain and just made room for the equipment I needed, and took over a little closet on the patio that wasn't being used for much else.
Yeah, just get rid of that bathtub. You don't really need it.
You don't need it. Yeah, but you can economize on space and use very simple equipment to do all grain, and a couple of coolers is really all you need.
Yeah,
and a place to stash them.
Yeah.
Build some shelving in somewhere and put it up there. Put it up high where it's out of your way.
Just do it. All right, we're going to take a break, and then when we come back, we're going to get to our in-studio guest, Scott. We're going to drink his mild ale, which
I think he left.
I'm excited for. And, we'll talk some more beer. It's back after this, everybody. Dr. Homebrew.
Hey, Jack, what you doing? Playing Warcraft?
No way. It's TBG time, buddy.
TBG?
Get with it. I'm playing that brewery game.
What brewery game?
No, that's the name of the site. Thatbrewerygame.com.
What?
Yeah, check it out, man. If you've ever brewed beer in your dreams or wish you could mash in right from your desk at work, you can. Kind of. With That Brewery Game. You can brew up a great batch of beer from anywhere virtually. Then you can sell it because in That Brewery Game, it's legal to sell your beer to the public, create recipes, brew virtually, upgrade your equipment, upload labels, and test market your brand at thatbrewerygame.com. You still slinging pissed off birds into buildings from your phone? Forget that. Try making beer.
Sweet.
Register right now for your free account at thatbrewerygame.com. Brew, drink, play. Thatbrewerygame.com.
That's it. I've had it. I am never putting hops in my beer again.
What? Why?
It's just too ridiculous. Insane prices, stupid contracts, high shipping costs, crappy selection.
Dude, you need Nico Brew. Nico Brew will rock your f***ing face right the f*** off your f***ing skull. $5 shipping to all 50 states. Plus fantastic international rates get you low prices on Nico Brew's great selection of hops and more. Whether you're a home brewer, a pro brewer, or a homebrew shop owner, Nico Brew can get you the hops you need in increments big and small, single orders, spot buys, or full contracts. And there's only one place to join the uber special secret elite bare bones club where you'll get the best deals anywhere.
Holy f***ing shit.
NicoBrew.com. NIKOBREW. Nico Brew, your bare bones buddy in the brewing business. Now, back to the examination.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Dr. Homebrew. Our next guest hails from near Fresies, very, very far away. Scott, welcome to the show, Scott. Do I not have you up here?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, perfect. So, what beer did you bring for us, man?
It's my second attempt at an English mild.
Mm-hmm.
I think my first attempt was more to style, so I need you guys to tell me if you think this is a mild, or if you think it's some other style, or if you can find any flaws or off flavors. I just really want some honest feedback. That's all I really want.
Okay. How long you been homebrewing?
2 years this month.
2 years this month.
Yeah.
Happy anniversary.
Thanks.
You're welcome. All right. Look at that. Lee's already going for it.
Let me have
Pour that beer. Need the
Got a
foam
glass?
cam.
Yeah, this you can use this one right there.
I haven't had this in like a month, so
Yeah?
I wouldn't mind trying some again.
Foam cam.
Sponsored by Les Schwab, apparently.
Yeah.
Look at the camera. That's the thing about using old recycled Fest glasses.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's marketing's everywhere. So this is what you said, an English mild, right?
That's what I was aiming for. Yeah.
All right. Brian, did he hit what he was aiming
It's
for?
an 11A category, English mild. This is a style that it's hard to find a lot of commercial examples for, and or any. So, yeah, the aroma opened up with kind of a rich, roasty malt aroma up front, almost porter-like, and it seemed cleanly brewed. A little bit of toastiness under there and some grainy malt in there too, and a very low kind of earthy hop aroma in the background. Aster's kind of medium, generally fruity and in check. Didn't have any diacetyl, any DMS, nothing to complain about there. It's kind of a medium to medium light brown, and seems, well, it's hard to tell. It seemed to have a little bit of haze in it. It's hard with these darker beer, slightly darker beers. Sometimes it's hard to see, but yeah, I can't really see through it too well.
The bottle we had when we judged it was pretty clear, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing a little.
I had good clarity. This time it's looking pretty.
Seeing a little bit of sediment
chunky,
in here though too from the.
Yeah.
And
I think we got the bottoms mixed up a bit here this time.
Anyway,
I blame you.
Had a pretty thick tan head, very fine bubbles, and creamy looking head. It just stuck around quite well, but that's actually kind of unusual for the style because it's such a low alcohol beer and should be fairly low carbonated. So it's okay. I didn't knock it down a whole lot for appearance, though. It was just a little murky and the head kind of was unusual to have it stick around like that. But oh well. The flavor has a medium high roasty malt flavor and a bit of raisiny quality below that. I should drink some of this.
I think you should.
The malt is kind of a one trick pony a little bit. The roastiness is coming through on the top, but there's not a whole lot of, these milds can have a lot of different flavors in them. A little coffee, a little treacle, a little,
I do get
caramel. There's a little tiny bit of that.
Yeah.
Hop bitterness is pretty low and unassuming. Yeah, it does have a light little coffee like note in there. But yeah, hop flavor is very low and floral. Hop flavor is pretty much in check. It's meant to be a malty beer.
Mm-hmm.
Seems cleanly fermented. The alcohol seems low enough. It seems like this is a low gravity session beer. That's what it's supposed to be. But pretty rich malt character nonetheless in there. And, some of them come across a little softer. The rich malt kind of lingers into the aftertaste, and you get a little bit of that roast in there still, and the coffee. But, yeah. The body-wise, it has kind of a medium-light body with moderate carbonation, which is maybe a little high for the style. Didn't find any warmth. Well, there was a little bit of astringency in there probably from the roast malt. It wasn't creamy at all. It was actually a little bit biting, and it should feel a little bit smoother, I think. But overall, this was a pretty clean beer. Just a little, for my taste, a little too roasty. Although there's a wide range of interpretation for milds, and some can lean towards the roasty side. But I think it should be a soft roast and not like a porter-like roast or stout-like roast. But
it should be a lot softer.
A bit too highly carbonated for the style, and you could, smooth it out a little bit and make it a little less biting in the mouthfeel. If it's an all grain beer, you can watch your sparging, which with a low gravity beer like this is a challenge because, proper sparging involves staying below 168 degrees Fahrenheit, which is easy to do, but also keeping, if you're doing all grain, keeping your last runnings above like 1008. And if you're starting at, your first runnings are 1040 something, and it's, you're out, your beer's going to end up in the low 1030s or below that even. It's getting down to 1008 comes up pretty fast, so you'd have to be pretty careful to not let those go too low, or to acidify your sparge water to kind of keep the pH where it needs to be down in the lower ranges, the fives, and not getting up above 6 or so.
Because so you're saying if you're getting around the 1008 or lower on your runoff, then you can. You're pulling tannins, you're pulling astringent stuff. With
a higher pH, you're going to leach out some of the husk material and the tannic, the astringency from the malts, from the husks of the malts, to pull some of that material out more easily. When it's down in the lower gravity, it's pulling anything out that it still can, Right. And with a little, it not being acidic enough, that's what happens. But so it in the style, it does allow a little bit of astringency, and it's not entirely offensive. That's something you could do to make it smooth it out just a little bit more and make it more pleasant. But nice beer. I give it a 29. It's a very it's a good beer. It's drinkable, but it kind of missed the mark a little bit in a few points. So it was docked here and there for some of the stylistic points. But yeah.
Okay, good. Lee, what do you think? Is Brian just blowing smoke?
No, he's pretty much the same thing I thought. And in fact, what I thought was close stuff, I'm going to dispense with just reading down the whole score sheet. He's pretty much the same comments I had. I thought the color, the flavor profile was sort of the low medium end of the profile. I got a little bit of that roast. I didn't think that was a problem. I definitely did pick up some good English yeast character, a little bit of sort of a red berry sort of flavor to it, and the esters, some toasty kind of flavor, probably from some of the malt, but the yeast will do that a little bit too, perhaps. It really had that nicely. The malt profile was very good for this kind of beer. Again, on the lighter style, it's sort of like a junior cousin of a Newcastle Brown sort of thing. I thought that worked very nicely with a little bit of raisin and treacle and some some cocoa hints thrown in there. The thing I got about that I didn't like was what Brian was saying with the sort of astringency. It came across as a tea-like character to me, sort of like an oversteeped black tea bag. Is that kind of a flavor? So I would very much echo his comments on sparging and not over-extracting tannins. Mm-hmm. Keep your pH below 6, your temperature 168, 170 or lower, final gravity, cut it off at 1008. I mean, if that's hard to do, maybe add a little extra grain in there so you don't have to go all the way down to get your numbers on your kettle. The fermentation seemed pretty clean. The other thing I would say about this, for the style, was it's kind of overcarbonated. The British styles tend to be what Americans usually would think of flat, and especially if it's a draft version. So there'd probably be low to low medium carbonation on our scale. And this is actually a pretty sprightly beer. So I don't know if it was maybe bottled a little too earlier with too much priming sugar or whatever. Either of those would do it, but the carbonation definitely needs to come down on this beer substantially. But other than that, I actually thought it was a very nice example of the style. I ended up giving it 29 for those two flaws, but if you fix those, I'd probably go up several points on this at least. It could be actually quite a good beer, I think.
Yeah, it would come.
So I think you're very close to having something very nice. Just watch that sparge and get the carbonation right.
Maybe clear it up a little bit too. It's pretty murky, and there's a lot of sediment at the bottom of the glass. So there's a lot of things going on in the bottle. The first bottle actually had a little bit of sludge on the side of the neck in there, that like some brown substance in there. I don't know. Did you storm
it was a rough ride up here.
Hey, no worries.
Stop and go traffic.
Yeah.
Do you were they bottle conditioned?
They were bottle conditioned.
Okay. Yeah, the Bay Area freeways here aren't the smoothest in the world.
That last stretch was awful. But yeah, I think it was overcarbonated too. I don't know. I think I might have mashed a little high on this one too. I don't know.
What did you mash at?
At 151. My first attempt, I mashed at 148. So I wanted it to be lower body.
Yeah.
This one 151. I don't know, but I know it was overcarbonated. Maybe a little too much priming sugar.
Yeah, I'm not picking up anything in here that would make me say you mash too high.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, from at least the numbers and the style for such a low body beer, low gravity beer, and they do tend to be malty, little. I mean, not necessarily sweet, but 151's probably pretty good for this beer.
If you take away all the sweetness and the dextrins, you're gonna just dry it out to nothing, and then you'll just be left with the roast, and it'll just dry off in the finish, and that'll be all you have. So leaving a little sweetness didn't hurt this beer.
Yeah, I think that part was fine, but the astringency and it's not nasty, horrible, like make you wince astringency, but it just tastes like somebody mixed some tea in there with it, and it's not really supposed to be there. It's not that nice. It's not horrible.
Yeah.
But you definitely want to get rid of that.
Easily
and that's kind of hard in a little beer like this too. Sometimes.
Yeah, it's low gravity.
It's like the cousin of Pilsner, right? Where the flaws are going to show through, even though it's a lower darker beer. Dark, the low gravity.
Even though you're running the show,
right? Yeah, for sure.
You are doing all grain, right? What kind of setup do you have?
It's all grain. I got igloo cooler converted into a mash tun.
Yep.
I got 2 of them now, so I can do like a larger batch too.
Cool.
I just do them side by side now.
You can make 50 gallons a mile.
That's all you need.
Yeah, yeah.
I love. It's one of my favorite styles, man. I love it.
Yeah,
I love English.
Even though you can't find them. Yeah, I basically, aside from those 2 issues, I actually thought this is a very nice beer.
It has a lot of good flavor. The only one that I've really found is from Eagle Rock, and they're not. It's not
black mild.
It's not an English mild, but it's you can call it an American mild, I guess, or something like that. I love that beer. Solidarity. Find it. Look for it. It's the best.
Yeah.
God, I love it.
Or go to England. And look hard, because they're hard to find even there.
Really?
Yeah. Most pubs don't have that stuff.
What, are the IPAs taking over England now, too?
No, they'll just have, 3 or 4 taps of whatever their Tide House Brewery's line is, and then they'll have Bud and Guinness and a cider and a lager. And finding things like on tap like milds and even porters, and sometimes it's really more difficult than you would think. A lot of the pubs there, they've suffered a lot of homogenization.
Yeah.
You'd almost have better luck finding that stuff in some of the better liquor stores, grocery stores. Unless you're somewhere where you're hopefully if you're close to the brewery, somewhere where they really specialize in a brewery, you might start getting some of that stuff. But and there are some specialty places, sort of like our multi-taps, that will have that sort of stuff too sometimes. But I didn't run into a lot of miles running around London for a couple years ago.
Yeah, the guidelines say it's pretty rare even in England. You can find them around Birmingham, I guess, but
it's a thing. It's also kind of a regional thing, and that ain't London, and London's where I was. So
yeah, that's too bad.
Yeah. So what'd you put in this recipe?
Okay, so at the very end, at the last minute on the boil, I put 2 fluid ounces of molasses.
Ah. Interesting.
So that's probably where the raisining thing is coming from. Because I was reading the style guidelines, and I noticed one of the descriptors was molasses. I'm like, just a hint, not a bunch, just a little bit.
And the British are big on putting various interesting sugar sources in their beer too.
Right,
molasses, treacle, all this stuff.
And I used White Labs British ale yeast on this one.
Yeah, the yeast character was good.
Yeah, that really worked. Yeah. I handle that astringency and the carbonation. I think this would be killer. It would be really good.
Yeah, I used I think 1 or 2
You won't get
ounces.
rid of JP.
That's what I was aiming for. I sent him an email a long time ago saying, "Hey, I got a mild for you."
He'll come to visit in Fresno, and 5 years later,
yeah.
Got any more mild?
I'll get it right sooner or later. Though.
And he did tell us to beat up his beer, before the show. So we just scored it way down.
That's what I wanted.
Usually, when the brewers is in studio with us, we'll bump it up to that's a 40-point beer, even though it's
no, we don't. We just feel guilty.
Yeah, I'm not looking for ego boost. I want to be a better
honest
brewer.
feedback.
Well, should we drop this another 10 points?
Sure.
Would that help?
Go ahead. 19's fine.
From now on, we'll just put the in studio guests into the call screener booth. That way, it'll some sort of shield in case they get real mad.
As long as there's a lock on the door. He's a big guy.
Yeah. Well, Scott, do you think you have enough information to take another crack at this?
Yeah, I really appreciate this. Awesome. And I might try my first attempt at the style, which was a lot different. It didn't have I don't think it had the astringency, but it didn't have quite the body either.
You have some more of that left?
No, it's gone.
Okay, yeah.
That's when I first emailed JP. That's what I had. So I think I'm going to make it again, and I'll just send you guys some.
It's not a beer you want to let sit around too long anyway.
Right.
It's not going to hold up
for sure.
Such a light beer. Just
I don't
drink it.
I don't let beer sit around. If I have something that when I age, I'll give it to somebody else.
Man, yeah.
Let it sit here. Hold on to this for a year.
All right, we're going to take a break, and then when we come back, we'll do a recap, and then we'll get out of here, guys. Stay tuned. It's Dr. Homebrew.
Since the first time the Brewing Network microphones turned on, More Beer was behind it. More Beer sponsors the programming on the BN because, like you, they love brewing. And like the Brewing Network, they love sharing their knowledge. Morebeer.com isn't just a website to place your next equipment or ingredient order. Morebeer.com also gives you access to free beer information that will make you a better brewer. Go to morebeer.com and click into the Learning Center. You'll find podcasts, technical facts, video tutorials, and more, including access to The Buzz, More Beer's social network of more than 5,000 members. And some of them might even be crazier about beer than you are. Get over to morebeer.com today and take advantage of The Buzz, the forum, the Learning Center, and make sure you're signed up to receive the newest More Beer catalog. More Beer, bringing you absolutely everything for beer making.
Hello, fellow BNers. This is Sully from the 21st Amendment Brewery located in San Francisco, just 2 blocks from Giants Park. Before Nico and I opened the 21A and before I was a professional brewer, I homebrewed on my small 4-burner apartment stove in a back house in Santa Monica, California, making my extract brews before graduating to the daunting idea of all-grain brewing. Homebrew books and information was hard to come by back then. The internet hadn't been invented yet, along with other things we take for granted today, like electricity and potable water. One thing I wish I had back then when I was learning was a radio show that could teach me the ins and outs of brewing and answer questions that I had about homebrewing, a resource for making great craft beer. The 21st Amendment Brewery is excited to be a proud sponsor of Dr. Homebrew, a great show that teaches you what you need to know about making incredible beer. Good stuff. Listen up, you might learn something. I certainly did. And thanks for your support. Tasty Crack Games.
I'm sorry to tell you this, but we're going to have to pour you out.
Back to Dr. Homebrew.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Got a couple good beers today.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good part about the show. We haven't really gotten a dog. You know what I mean?
Yeah, technically, a lot of these are really good. Sometimes it's just stylistic things, like with that mild. But the Belgian Dark Strong, Lee and I disagreed on a little bit. But
if you really need a dog, I can bring mine in.
No, I don't need a dog at all. Keep that thing as far away from you as possible. All right, let's do a little recap here. So we had Peter on with the Skype. He had the Belgian Dark Strong, and the main points were up his carbonation a little bit. That is a beer that if the carbonation is lower, a lot of that sweetness comes through, and it's a little like sticky on your lips, and you do need that carbonation to kind of carry it through. Yeah, so he should up that a little bit and watch his fermentation temperatures.
Keep down a bit.
Make sure you're down, and simplify the recipe. I think we focused a little bit on that as well. He had a lot of grain additions in there.
The kitchen sink beer is not always better. Although sometimes you can make a kitchen sink beer that's just like, wow, that's really interesting. It's just like use all the grains that you have left around lurking in your grain bin and throw it all together. And sometimes you get something really cool. Sometimes you get something really horrible, though.
Right. And his beer was good. I wouldn't definitely not calling it horrible, but sometimes you can it can be a detriment.
I hate to use the word muddled, but your beer can get muddled.
It can, or at least it'll clean it up a little bit if you take one malt away. Because you get a couple flavors conflicting,
or emphasize one or a secondary malt in addition to your base malt. I mean, that beer I thought actually had some very nice complexity to it, but a lot of it probably was also ferment character, not just the different malts that were in there. So
Yeah.
But the carbonation thing is just an excuse to buy another gadget so you can split up your pressures and run
Which
it.
it sounds like that's what he's doing. That's his
6
plan
different
anyway.
pressures.
Right?
Next year he'll buy that. He'll buy that.
Good secondary regulator, man.
We just enabled him.
Yes.
It's time for another toy.
Yes.
Honey, I need to buy a toy.
For sure.
Yes, they told me on the show.
You want me to make good beer, don't you?
You don't want me to embarrass you, do you? on podcast radio, beer radio network
land. And then, of course, we have Scott here in the studio with his his English dark mild. See, now I want some Eagle Rock beers, dude. Now I'm thirsty. Basically, we just said lower the carbonation a little bit, watch your sparge temp, and work on the clarity a little bit. But the clarity was, due to his,
I think that was
12-hour car ride or something like that.
The other bottle was actually pretty good.
Okay. All right.
More than the sparge temp, though, watching the gravity of the final runnings coming off, and Lee's suggestion to throw a little more malt in as it's going along could be a very good one there.
Okay. Good one. I didn't catch that one. Nice work.
Yeah. He did say that.
I did?
Rewind the tape. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. Lee, you're slipping. You don't even remember the gems that are coming out.
No comment. What?
What? Well, I don't understand.
What
What's
Brian
going
said,
on?
Huh?
All right, everybody. Thanks again for sending beers. Peter, thank you. Scott, thanks for coming in, bringing your beers. 5-Star will be giving you guys a nice little thank you pack as well, in addition to my verbal thank you. Brian, Lee, you guys are handsome as ever. Appreciate it.
Oh, it's right back at you,
a
man.
non-statement. Yes, thank you.
Love the T-shirt this time, too.
Thank you. Yes, everybody, please go check 5starchemicals.com. 5starchemicals.com. And, while you're at it, visit all of our sponsors. More Beer, 2NA. If you're in Martinez, come out to Creek Monkey for a brew. Nico Brew, That Brewery Game. Don't forget about all of our lovely sponsors. Find them various social media places. Thank them for being a part of Dr. Homebrew and a part of the Brewing Network. It'll make them feel good. It'll make us feel good. And more importantly, it'll make you feel good. Until next time, it's Dr. Homebrew, everyone. Take care.